Ladies and gentlemen, imagine this. You're sitting in a room surrounded by laughter and chatter, yet something feels off. A person who once seemed like your closest friend, someone who knew your deepest secrets, is suddenly a stranger. Their words cut deep, their presence weighs heavy, and your heart feels uneasy. Have you ever asked yourself, how did this happen? Well, the answer might be simpler than you think. Sometimes the people we trust the most hide a darkness within them. The truth is, we all have our demons, but some wear them in plain sight, disguised as friends. These friends don't show up with horns and red eyes. No, they come to us as charming, comforting companions, often cloaked in familiarity, making us believe they have our best interests at heart. But deep down, they might be sowing seeds of doubt, fear, and negativity in our lives. So how do we spot these demons before they tear us apart from the inside? It starts with the subtle manipulations. You felt it before, the guilt trips, the constant need for validation, or the emotional games they play to control situations. At first, it's subtle. You don't notice it because they are your friend, right? But soon enough, you realize that every decision you make somehow revolves around their needs. They make you feel obligated to always be there, even when it drains you. And if you don't comply, they make you feel like the bad guy. Next comes the lack of empathy. Friends are supposed to support one another, to listen when you're hurting, to celebrate your successes. But a demon in disguise feels no need to share in your joy or console you in your sorrow. They're emotionally unavailable, and when you're in need, they vanish, or worse, dismiss your feelings. When was the last time you shared something deeply personal with a friend only for them to respond with, "Get over it," or "It could be worse"? Then there's the toxicity of forced positivity. They may flood you with unsolicited advice, telling you to just think positive, or "It's all about your attitude." It sounds harmless, doesn't it? Yet this constant invalidation of your struggles makes you question your own reality. A real friend sits with you in your pain. A demon wants you to skip over the hard stuff and pretend everything is fine when it's not. It's not just about words, it's about their behavior. Unpredictability and instability are telltale signs of someone who is emotionally turbulent. One minute, they're your best friend, and the next, they're cold and distant. They stir up chaos in your life, leaving you wondering if your friendship is based on truth or on their hidden agenda. Every conversation feels like a minefield, leaving you unsure of where you stand. And let's not forget the judgment. You've experienced it, the constant critiques, the judgments on your decisions, your actions, your very existence. They make you feel small, as though nothing you do will ever be enough. These friends wear masks of concern, offering advice that always feels more like criticism. Over time, you start questioning your self-worth, and that's exactly what they want: control. Lastly, their hidden agenda. They don't truly care for your growth. Their friendship comes with conditions, and often their kindness is a facade. They seek to gain something from you: status, power, or perhaps your vulnerability to exploit. You might find yourself giving without receiving, emotionally drained, and wondering why it feels like you're always losing more than you gain. So, how do you protect yourself from these demons in disguise? You trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Pay attention to how they make you feel, not just when things are good, but when you're at your lowest. Are they there to build you up, or do they bring you down? A true friend supports your growth, even when it means letting go of their own comfort. A demon, they seek to diminish it. Be vigilant. Be aware. And most importantly, remember, you deserve to be surrounded by people who love you unconditionally, who lift you up, and who celebrate your best and worst moments with you. Trust yourself, and when in doubt, distance yourself from those who wear a mask of friendship but leave you feeling empty. Your heart knows the difference, and it's time to listen. There's an uncomfortable truth we need to face when it comes to friendships. Sometimes the people we trust the most, those we believe have our best interests at heart, may instead be quietly manipulating us for their own gain. Manipulation, though often subtle and masked in kindness, is one of the key ways we can spot a demon in a friend. In its simplest form, manipulation is when someone tries to influence your actions, thoughts, or decisions to serve their own needs, regardless of how it impacts you. It's a slow, insidious process that gradually chips away at your sense of control, self-worth, and trust in your own instincts. At first, manipulation can seem harmless. Your friend might ask for small favors that feel almost like requests any reasonable person would make. They may ask you to help them with something, and you do it because they've done it for you before. The problem arises when these requests begin to snowball. It starts with them asking for things that go beyond what you're comfortable with. But instead of being direct about it, they use tactics that make you feel obligated, guilty, or responsible for their happiness or well-being. One of the most common forms of manipulation is guilt tripping. It could be something as subtle as your friend sighing loudly when you turn down an invitation to hang out. Or it could escalate into emotional blackmail, where they make you feel like a terrible person for not doing what they want. For example, if you refuse to help them with a task, they may make you feel like you're abandoning them or being selfish, even though their request is unreasonable. I thought you were my friend, they might say, planting a seed of doubt in your mind about your loyalty to them. Over time, this form of manipulation wears down your boundaries, making you feel as though you have to drop everything at their whim, no matter how it affects your own well-being. Another tactic that manipulative friends often use is flattery. But this, too, is a tool for control. When someone constantly praises you, especially in exaggerated ways, it can be tempting to believe they truly care about you. But this is often a facade. The goal of excessive flattery isn't to genuinely boost your confidence. It's to make you feel indebted to them, to create a sense of obligation. When they do something for you, or when they show you some small kindness, you start to feel as though you owe them something in return. This subtle exchange of compliments for favors is another way manipulative friends insert themselves into your life, creating an unspoken contract that ties you to them emotionally, sometimes against your better judgment. The most dangerous aspect of manipulation in friendships is how it makes you doubt yourself. A manipulative friend rarely takes direct action that forces you into a situation. Instead, they often plant seeds of doubt in your mind, making you question your own decisions. They may subtly criticize your choices or suggest that you don't know what's best for yourself. For example, if you decide to take a new job or make a significant life change, a manipulative friend may downplay your achievements or suggest that you're making a mistake. Are you sure this is a good idea? I just don't want to see you fail. These remarks are designed to undermine your confidence, making you second-guess what you're doing and, in many cases, abandon your plans to please them. They may also use situations where they've been there for you in the past as leverage to manipulate you into doing things for them. Remember when I helped you out during that tough time? Now it's your turn. This creates a sense of moral obligation that can be difficult to shake off. What they don't acknowledge, however, is that genuine friendships are not transactional. A true friend doesn't keep a mental tally of favors to be repaid. They give without expecting anything in return. But a manipulative friend is constantly keeping score, and they'll remind you of your debt at the most opportune times to get you to do things you'd rather not. What's more, manipulation can often go unnoticed because it's masked as concern. They might act like they're only trying to help you, but their help comes with strings attached. You may feel pressured to follow their advice, not because it's what's best for you, but because it's what they want for you. If you don't comply, you might face passive-aggressive behavior, such as the withdrawal of their attention or affection, or you might be made to feel like you're ungrateful for their efforts. These emotional games are designed to make you feel responsible for their emotional state, tying your own happiness to their approval. Eventually, this constant manipulation can take its toll on you. You start to feel drained, uncertain, and constantly walking on eggshells, trying to avoid conflict or disapproval. You may also begin to lose touch with who you truly are, as the manipulative friend subtly reshapes your thoughts, actions, and decisions to align with their needs and desires. Over time, the emotional toll can lead to feelings of anxiety, depression, and self-doubt, as your sense of identity becomes warped by the manipulation. In the end, the goal of manipulative friends isn't to nurture a healthy, balanced relationship. Their goal is control, using your emotions and actions as pawns to serve their own needs. By recognizing the signs of manipulation, guilt tripping, excessive flattery, emotional blackmail, and undermining your confidence, you can begin to see through the facade. Recognizing manipulation is the first step to regaining your sense of self and taking back control over your life and relationships. A fundamental aspect of friendship is empathy, the ability to understand and share in the feelings of others. It's what allows us to connect deeply, to support one another in times of joy and hardship, and to build a bond of mutual trust and respect. However, when a friend lacks empathy, the relationship becomes hollow, one-sided, and emotionally draining. This is one of the clearest signs that a friend may be harboring darker intentions or exhibiting toxic behaviors. A friend who shows little to no empathy is someone who will not only fail to understand or care about your feelings, but will also leave you feeling emotionally exhausted and unsupported. When a friend lacks empathy, their inability to connect with your emotions often manifests in various ways. One of the most glaring signs is when they dismiss or downplay your experiences. If you are going through a challenging time, whether it's dealing with personal struggles, family issues, or a difficult work situation, and your friend brushes it off with statements like, "It's not that big of a deal," or "You'll get over it," it's a clear indication that they don't truly understand or care about what you're going through. Instead of offering comfort or encouragement, their words leave you feeling alone and invalidated. They may act as though your feelings are an inconvenience, something they'd rather avoid or disregard, which deepens your sense of isolation. In the absence of empathy, a manipulative friend may also show a lack of interest in your well-being. Real friendships are built on a foundation of shared experiences and concern for each other's lives. A friend who cares will ask about your day, check in on you when you're not feeling well, and offer their support when you need it most. But when empathy is missing, you might find that your friend doesn't really ask about your feelings unless they have something to gain. They might listen half-heartedly, but the conversation quickly turns back to their own issues. Instead of offering a listening ear, they focus primarily on themselves, constantly seeking validation or attention while leaving your needs unmet. Another red flag when it comes to the lack of empathy is a friend's inability to recognize or respond to your emotional cues. Human beings are highly intuitive when it comes to reading body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions. When someone we care about is upset, anxious, or excited, we instinctively try to meet them where they are emotionally. But a friend devoid of empathy will often fail to pick up on these signals. For instance, if you're visibly upset, a friend without empathy might not offer a comforting word or attempt to understand what's wrong. Instead, they may brush you off or even make you feel like your emotions are inconvenient, pushing you to get over it without offering the support you need. This indifference can create a sense of emotional neglect where you feel like your struggles aren't worthy of attention or care. Equally troubling is the absence of emotional reciprocity. Friendships are mutual relationships where both parties share their joys, frustrations, and vulnerabilities. When one person fails to show empathy, they create a one-sided dynamic in which the other person's feelings are constantly disregarded. If you find yourself always being the one who listens, offers advice, or provides emotional support, yet your friend is emotionally unavailable when you need them most, it can feel as though your friendship is a transaction rather than a true connection. You might give and give, only to be met with indifference when it's your turn to receive. Over time, this lack of emotional reciprocity can erode the foundation of the friendship, leaving you feeling unappreciated and emotionally drained. In some cases, the lack of empathy can become even more harmful if your friend begins to exhibit a complete disregard for your boundaries. Friends who lack empathy are often blind to the limits that you set for yourself, whether they involve emotional, physical, or psychological boundaries. They may push you to do things that you're uncomfortable with, either out of selfishness or sheer ignorance of your needs. For example, they might demand your time and energy without regard for your other commitments or emotional state. They may also ignore your requests for personal space or privacy, making you feel like your boundaries are irrelevant. A lack of empathy here can lead to feelings of frustration and resentment as you begin to realize that your needs and desires are being ignored in favor of their own. Moreover, a friend who lacks empathy can also be dismissive when you confront them about their behavior. Rather than acknowledging your feelings or apologizing for their insensitivity, they may react defensively, brushing aside your concerns or making you feel as though you're overreacting. "You're too sensitive," or "I didn't mean it like that," are common phrases used to shut down any attempts at emotional honesty. This response not only fails to validate your feelings, but also reinforces the idea that your emotions are insignificant or unimportant. Over time, this can lead to a breakdown in communication and trust as you start to realize that no matter how many times you try to explain yourself, your friend will never truly understand or care. A lack of empathy in a friendship creates an emotionally unsafe environment. It breeds frustration, loneliness, and resentment as you are left trying to navigate a relationship where your emotional needs are unmet. A true friend would be someone who not only listens when you speak, but also actively seeks to understand and support you. They would share in your joys, offer comfort in your sadness, and respect your emotional boundaries. A friend without empathy, however, creates a void, making you feel as though your emotions are disposable or irrelevant. This absence of emotional connection diminishes the quality of the relationship and highlights the stark contrast between someone who genuinely cares for you and someone who is simply there for their own benefit. Ultimately, recognizing a lack of empathy in a friend is crucial for maintaining healthy, balanced relationships. While empathy is a skill that can be developed, if a friend consistently fails to show it, it may be a sign that they are not the supportive and caring individual you deserve. Toxic positivity is a subtle yet powerful form of emotional manipulation, often hidden behind a mask of well-intentioned optimism. It might sound harmless or even encouraging at first, but when it is used repeatedly in an unhealthy way, it can invalidate your feelings, dismiss your experiences, and leave you feeling isolated. The concept behind toxic positivity is simple. It's the belief that no matter how difficult or painful a situation is, you should always focus on the positive and put on a happy face. At its core, toxic positivity encourages individuals to suppress their true emotions and present a facade of constant happiness, regardless of the circumstances. One of the most insidious aspects of toxic positivity is that it can make you feel guilty for experiencing natural human emotions. When you're facing a challenging situation or struggling with difficult feelings, you might turn to a friend for support, only to be met with phrases like, "Just look on the bright side," or "everything happens for a reason." These kinds of statements are not designed to comfort you or help you process your emotions, but rather to push you to move past them without fully addressing the root cause of your distress. Instead of validating your pain or offering a listening ear, toxic positivity forces you to suppress your feelings, leaving you with the sense that your struggles aren't worth discussing or acknowledging. At its worst, toxic positivity can cause people to question their own emotions and feel ashamed for experiencing pain. The person on the receiving end may begin to believe that they are somehow weak or flawed for not being able to just get over it, as their well-meaning friends suggest. This creates an unhealthy dynamic where you're encouraged to bottle up your emotions, resulting in a buildup of unresolved feelings that can lead to anxiety, depression, or even emotional burnout. The more this happens, the more disconnected you may become from your true self, because you're constantly trying to meet an unrealistic expectation that emotions, particularly negative ones, should be avoided or quickly overcome. When toxic positivity becomes a pattern in a friendship, it can become an emotional burden. Instead of feeling understood or supported, you might feel as though your friend is dismissing your experience in favor of a simplistic, overly optimistic outlook. For example, if you're grieving the loss of a loved one or dealing with a significant life change, and your friend says things like, "You'll be fine, just keep going." Or it could be worse, the message you're receiving is not one of empathy or support. Instead, it's an attempt to shut down your emotional process and push you toward a surface-level positivity that doesn't allow you the space to feel and heal in your own time. Grief, anxiety, and pain are not problems to be fixed with simple affirmations. They are deep, complex emotions that require space, understanding, and most importantly, time. Additionally, toxic positivity can breed an environment where it feels unsafe to express vulnerability. If every time you try to open up about something difficult, you're met with an overly positive response that belittles your emotions, you may begin to suppress your feelings altogether, fearing judgment or rejection. This can lead to a deep sense of isolation, where you start to feel like no one truly understands what you're going through. A true friend should offer empathy and be willing to sit with you in your pain, acknowledging that it's okay to not be okay. However, when toxic positivity is at play, the emphasis is always on rushing past negative emotions, creating an emotional wall between you and your friend that prevents authentic connection. Another aspect of toxic positivity is the way it diminishes the value of your personal experiences. For example, if you share a story about a challenging situation you faced and your friend responds with, "It could always be worse," or "At least you're not in a third world country dealing with real problems," their response is not acknowledging the difficulty of what you've gone through. Instead, it trivializes your feelings by comparing them to other, potentially more extreme situations. While it may be true that others face even greater challenges, this comparison does nothing to help you process your own emotions. It minimizes your experience and implies that your pain isn't significant enough to warrant attention or care. This is not the way a friend should behave, as it fosters feelings of inadequacy and unworthiness, leading you to believe that your struggles are invalid. Toxic positivity can also appear in the form of forced encouragement. A well-meaning friend may insist that you just keep going or stay positive even when you're not ready to do so. These words, though intended to motivate, can feel like pressure, especially when you're struggling to process a difficult situation. Instead of offering space for you to acknowledge your feelings and work through your emotions in a healthy way, toxic positivity pushes you to skip that process and move directly into a state of positivity. While it's true that maintaining a positive outlook can be helpful in certain situations, it should never come at the expense of allowing yourself to feel and process your emotions authentically. In the context of a friendship, toxic positivity can erode the trust and openness that form the foundation of a healthy relationship. When you feel like you can't share your true feelings without being met with oversimplified, unrealistic expectations, you begin to withdraw emotionally. This creates a one-sided dynamic where your needs and emotions are ignored. And instead of being met with understanding and support, you're told to just think positive and move on. Ultimately, this undermines the very essence of friendship, which should be about mutual care, vulnerability, and emotional support. In the end, toxic positivity is not a harmless quirk, but a toxic trait that can severely impact your emotional well-being and your relationships. When a friend insists on only focusing on the positive and shuts down your feelings, they prevent you from processing your emotions in a healthy way. Instead of feeling uplifted or understood, you are left feeling invalidated, emotionally drained, and disconnected from your true self. A true friend embraces the full spectrum of human experience: joy, sadness, anger, fear, and is there to support you through it all, not just when it's convenient or comfortable for them. Jealousy in friendships is an insidious force that often starts small but can grow into something far more destructive over time. When a friend exhibits jealousy, it can lead to unhealthy competition, resentment, and an overall toxic dynamic. At its core, jealousy arises when someone feels threatened by another person's success, achievements, or happiness. This can occur when a friend feels that they are being left behind or that you're surpassing them in some way. While a little jealousy is a normal human emotion, when it becomes pervasive, it shifts the balance of the friendship, creating tension, insecurity, and ultimately undermining the trust that should exist between friends. One of the most noticeable signs of jealousy in a friendship is when a friend reacts negatively to your accomplishments or successes. Instead of celebrating your achievements with you, they might downplay them, minimize their significance, or make passive-aggressive comments. For example, if you get a promotion or achieve a personal goal, a jealous friend might say something like, "Well, that's nice, but I'm sure it's not as big a deal as you think." Or, "It must have been easy for you." These types of responses signal that your success is not being celebrated, but rather resented. Instead of feeling genuinely happy for you, a jealous friend may feel threatened by your progress and may attempt to belittle or diminish it, hoping to make themselves feel better in the process. Another manifestation of jealousy can be subtle yet highly damaging, the attempt to one-up you. In this case, your friend might consistently try to overshadow your achievements or experiences with their own. They may take every opportunity to remind you of how much better they are at something or how they've had even more success in similar situations. For instance, if you're excited about a recent vacation you took, a jealous friend might respond with, "Oh, that's nice. I've actually been to 5 different countries this year." These comparisons are meant to shift the focus away from your experience and onto their own, often in an exaggerated or exaggeratedly competitive way. Rather than celebrating your success, they make it clear that they believe their achievements are superior. This can create an unhealthy environment of competition rather than support. Jealousy can also manifest as passive-aggressive behavior. A jealous friend might give you backhanded compliments, or they may express resentment toward the attention you're receiving from others. For example, they might say something like, "You're always the center of attention, aren't you?" Or, "It must be nice to have everything go your way." These comments, though disguised as casual remarks, reveal underlying feelings of envy. The jealousy here isn't necessarily overt, but it's rooted in a deep sense of insecurity. When jealousy manifests in this way, it can be difficult to address directly because it's not always clear-cut, but the impact is real, as these comments create an emotional distance and may leave you questioning whether your friend is truly happy for you or just hiding their negative feelings behind a veil of sarcasm or subtle digs. Another common sign of jealousy in friendships is when a friend starts to compete for your time and attention. If you form a new friendship or develop a romantic relationship, a jealous friend might feel left out and try to disrupt the new dynamics in your life. They may attempt to draw you away from other people, making you feel guilty for spending time with someone else. For instance, they might say, "I can't believe you're spending so much time with them. You used to hang out with me all the time." Or, "I thought we were best friends. Why am I not as important anymore?" These comments may make you feel obligated to prioritize them over others, but they are a form of emotional manipulation. A jealous friend might try to guilt you into maintaining the status quo, not because they care about you, but because they want to maintain control over your attention and affection. In some cases, jealousy can also lead to sabotage. This occurs when a friend, consciously or unconsciously, undermines your efforts to succeed or grow. If a jealous friend sees you on the verge of achieving something important, they might try to create obstacles for you or subtly encourage you to doubt your own abilities. They may offer advice that seems supportive on the surface, but is actually designed to derail your progress. For example, if you're planning to start a new project, a jealous friend might say, "Are you sure that's a good idea? I don't think you're ready for that." Or, "I tried something similar once and it didn't work out." While these statements may seem like helpful advice, their true intention is to make you second-guess yourself and ultimately hold you back from achieving your goals. This kind of sabotage can be devastating, as it chips away at your self-confidence and makes you question whether your friend truly wants what's best for you. Jealousy can also manifest in more subtle, passive ways. For instance, a jealous friend might stop supporting your endeavors altogether. They may withdraw emotionally or physically, pulling back from your life and becoming less engaged with you when you share your successes. This behavior can be especially confusing because it may feel like your friend is simply distancing themselves, but the root cause is actually jealousy. When someone stops showing interest in your life, it often reflects a deeper emotional conflict that they are unwilling to confront. Instead of being happy for you, they might harbor resentment because they feel inadequate or envious of your accomplishments. The long-term impact of jealousy in a friendship is often damaging. It erodes trust, creates emotional distance, and leaves both parties feeling unfulfilled. If one person feels constantly overshadowed or undermined, the relationship can devolve into a power struggle rather than a mutual support system. Jealousy destroys the very foundation of friendship, which should be built on support, encouragement, and the ability to celebrate each other's successes without fear or resentment. If jealousy is left unchecked, it can eventually lead to the breakdown of the friendship altogether, as the negative emotions become too overwhelming to ignore. It's important to recognize when jealousy is seeping into a relationship and to address it openly and honestly. True friendship is about lifting each other up, not competing against one another. In conclusion, identifying toxic traits in friendships is not only vital for personal growth, but essential for protecting your mental and emotional well-being. Whether it's a lack of empathy, toxic positivity, jealousy, or any other form of manipulation, recognizing these behaviors is the first step in creating healthier, more supportive relationships. True friends build each other up, celebrate each other's successes, and provide genuine care and understanding through both good times and bad. If a friendship is draining, competitive, or emotionally dismissive, it may be time to reassess whether it's truly a healthy and positive connection. By being aware of these signs, you equip yourself with the knowledge to either address the issues in your relationships or let go of those that no longer serve your best interests. Life is too short to hold on to friendships that bring you harm or stifle your growth. Remember, you deserve friends who uplift you, encourage you, and meet you with empathy, support, and love. I wish you all the best in your journey toward building and maintaining relationships that are genuinely meaningful. May you have the courage to surround yourself with people who nourish your soul and the wisdom to walk away from those who do not. Thank you for your attention and time today. Good luck.